All right, well, good morning, folks. And again, thank you for attending our Life and Annuity Academy. A lot of great information will be given by some industry experts. This presentation will be recorded and uploaded on our YouTube page. And just to give you just a little brief then what's going to take place today. So at about 10:15, we're going to have Brandon Haig, who's with Dynamic Directions, and they are a financial advisory consulting firm. So they help folks on best practices, and he'll talk to you about how to get more referrals in a way that work. Then after that, we're going to have a estate planning attorney or advanced planning attorney. He's going to talk about tax diversification strategies. And then that's going to transition into IULs and long-term care linked benefits with one of our partners, Chris SHEIFER. Then I'll give a presentation on how to transition Medicare to life and annuity. And then let's say maybe about 12:30 or maybe a little bit before, we're going to close out and we'll have a couple of giveaways. I mean, actually, we will raffle off 2 $50 gift cards, and everyone that is on this presentation will receive a free consultation on the website design as well as social media. So yeah, a lot of good stuff for us today. So just let folks know, Insurance Advisors Direct is a full service FMO. And actually, we pride ourselves on our 7 pillars of success. That being our product offering, marketing services, lead generation, technology, sales tools, training and education, and then administrative services. Now, one of my favorites out of our 7 pillars is our training and education. And I always like to think that the training and education is the forefront of what we do. And then everything else feeds into that, our product offerings and then our marketing services. I like to provide as much information and make it as simple as possible to send out to our agents, to you folks. So we can, as our motto is, simplifying your success. So my name is Bernard, and I am the life and annuity specialist here, as well as the compliance manager and sales support for our Medicare team, which pretty much everyone on this call probably had a great, successful AEP. Now this is OEP, great time to reach out to your Medicare clients to see if their plans are working well for them. And on the same note, since you weren't able to talk to them about the other services you offer, like life, annuities, long-term care, well, this is the perfect opportunity, the perfect time to talk to your clients, to reach out to your clients. One, find out about their Medicare Advantage plan, see if it's working for them. And then 2 is let them know that the other services that you offer, be it life, annuity, long-term care, because everything ties in together. So I just kind of look at it as a symbiotic package. You have your retirees, Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement, whatever the case fits their needs. And then, if they're retired, they're going to want to have guaranteed income for life. They're going to need long-term care. Now, if they don't use it, then they have the life side of it that, they have that life product or that death benefit to fall back on. It's not use it or lose it like with a traditional long-term care. And then, like I say, there is the tax diversification strategies of retirement. As a senior, they don't want to pay a ton of taxes. And this is where life insurance comes in as well, with tax-free monies that they can get from the cash value. So, I mean, it all sounds complicated, but it really isn't. And that's what we're here today, just to show you what we have to offer, services we can provide for you, and pretty much everything that IAD has to offer. Like I say, we are a full service FMO, and biggest clientele is the senior market. And that senior market, we have, actually, you have tons of resource at your beck and call through IAD. Now, what we're waiting on is Brandon with Dynamic Directions. And so he just texted me, and he is just moving a little slow, just a little bit of technical difficulties going his way, but he should be on in a couple of minutes. But what I'd like to do while we are waiting, folks, if you have any questions, please feel free to type those questions in. At every segment of the presenters, we will answer those questions, and depending on the presenter, if you can ask questions through the presentation, that's even better. So we just want to make this as interactive as possible. I know you folks don't want to just sit here and just listen to a bunch of folks talk. So if those questions are there, just shoot those questions out, and then we'll try to answer them as fast as we can. So with that, let's just ask if there's any questions about Insurance Advisors Direct that you would like answered before we get Brandon on here. So I'll just field any questions. Like I say, we've been around for over 12 years. Everybody pretty much know Jason, his work ethic, and his team feeds off of his work ethic. We all feed off of his work ethic, and we want to just try to provide the best service possible to the agents. And I know me personally, I'm very passionate about life insurance and annuities. I mean, I just tell you all a quick story on how insurance impacts everyone's life. I mean, if you have it or if you don't have it, particular, maybe a couple of days before Christmas, I'm sorry, a week before Christmas, one of my good friends, fraternity brothers, he passed away. And unfortunately, he didn't have life insurance. Now, my friend, did very well. He was living in DC, construction, but then his mom became ill, and he had to move back to St. Louis to help take care of his mom. So he stopped working, and then his job full time was to take care of his mom. Unfortunately, his mom passed away, and he was left with, taking care of the home, all of the bills in the home, and trying to find work at the same time. So this year, like I said, a few weeks before Christmas, he passed away, and finally his sisters told us that he didn't have any life insurance at all. So, that's hard on the family, trying to scrape with every little penny that they had. But ultimately, she reached out to all of us, and us being his good friends and fraternity brothers, we all chipped in and honored our dear brother. And I mean, he was cremated, but that still costs. And the cremation was, I think it was about $3,000. But anyway, we, ponied up, we got that money, and then we honored our brother with a nice, with the cremation, and then he's going to be memorialized. The cremation, the ashes are going to be buried in the ground, and all that stuff. But the story is, life insurance is important to each and every one of us, and we all have stories, and these stories you tell your clients. I mean, because you tell these stories, and you have to make it a sense of urgency when you tell these stories, because at the end of the day, we're different on so many different levels, but we're the same on so many different levels. We all live life the same. We all have the same life problems, but it's just how we react to them or act upon them. So tell these stories to your clients. If you have a story, tell them. And I mean, it's urgent. I mean, we don't want to have the spaghetti dinners, and we don't want to have the GoFundMes. I mean, and it's okay, but you know, life insurance is pennies on the dollar, pennies on the dollar. So we have Brandon here. Brandon, my good friend, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Bernard. How are you today?
My friend, I am doing well. Happy New Year to you and your family. And again, thank you for joining in. Folks, this is Brandon HEGG. Actually, he used to work with us a year or so ago on the annuity side. But now he is with Dynamic Directions. I was telling you folks earlier, he is a coach, and he coaches agents on best practices. And this dynamic young man here is going to coach you on best practices. So what I'm going to tell you folks after his presentation, because he's going to do a presentation today, and then he's going to do another presentation tomorrow on our annuity day is tomorrow. Today is Life Day. And I want you folks to take him up. I call him and learn best practices. And, you know, he's helped me out through the years. And so you guys, the same information that he's the man. He's the man when it comes to best practices and how to take your insurance agency or practice to the next level. And then we can better able to serve you. And here's one of our resources that we have. So Brandon, take it away, my friend.
Awesome. I'm gonna share the screen here, and we're gonna be rocking and rolling. So fun news on our side, we actually launched a new brand. So we are now what's called XFA, which is Extraordinary Financial Advisors Professionals. So little fun news on our end. But as Bernard said, today we're going to be talking about how to get referrals in a way that works. And to just give you a little background real quick on who I am. Look, I've been around this industry for about 15 years. We work with a few hundred advisors and agents across the country. And year over year, including last year, our average financial professional grows about 30% in year over year revenue growth. And that includes last year when the markets weren't great. So these are all things that we talk about all day. And when people put in the time to get better at this, they grow. We work with folks in one-on-one, but also now we do group coaching where it's a low cost and you learn from others like yourself in the same position to share even more best practices and challenge each other to get better. So we work again with a few hundred. My specialty is organic growth. So it's getting more clients and doing more with the clients you have. So we're going to talk today about getting more clients. So we're going to go through a little bit of this agenda today, and I'm going to share with you a ton of information. So take notes, take some of these best practices away. And as Bernard said, if you want to talk about any of this, we always offer a free initial session to talk about how you can implement some of the best practices I share today, as well as tomorrow, because they all tie together in growing by attracting new clients. The top drivers of growth are either going deeper with the clients you have, getting more of the right kind of clients. So we're going to talk about that. And then finally, if you're looking at mergers and acquisitions, that's the last way. I'm not going to get into that. My specialty is how do you grow organically? So let's talk about referrals. We all know that we're supposed to do it. It's the first thing they teach when you're in the financial services industry. You've got to get referrals. So what doesn't work? Avoiding the conversation, having a vague referral ask. I hear this more than any other issue or roadblock that gets in the way is, oh no, I'm asking, but it's not clear. Having unclear next steps for the client. If you've had a situation where you've gotten the name of someone, but you can't get them on the phone or you can't get them to come in to meet with you, I'm going to show you how you solve that. And then how do you take your first referral from a client and turn it into multiple referrals? I'm going to share at the very end of this a way that you can create a wow moment with your clients and their prospect that they send to you that's going to turn an initial referral into repeat referrals. So the first thing you want to do is you want to identify who do you help best? What do they look like? What do they have in common? And what do you do that's different? I'm going to share with you why we want to do that. But what I would tell you is if you are thinking about going out and marketing to everyone, you're going to end up with your middle tier client. If you want to attract the top tier clients, you have to know who they are, what do they have in common, and how do you help them better than anyone else. I use analogies all the time. An analogy that I think about is if you are thinking about going fishing. I live in Minnesota. I go out fishing quite a bit. If I went out and I fished with a net, sure, I'll get a bunch of fish, but will they be the right kind that I'm looking for? Probably not. And is it going to be a good experience bringing them into the boat? Absolutely not. So you want to figure out how do you identify the exact kind of client that you want to attract, because that's how you can multiply and repeat those. So to prepare to get referrals, the first thing you want to do is you want to have a referable experience by creating wow moments. That's going to be all I talk about tomorrow, is how do you turn your radar on and put your antenna up to create these wow moments for clients. If you have a referable practice, you're going to get more referrals. If you don't, you're going to struggle in that space. The second thing to do is practice it. This is not something you have to be good at immediately. You're going to get better over time. The key is, as you think about attracting and getting referrals, you want clients to know, number one, that you're open for business. And so just by practicing and having this conversation, we'll start to let clients know you're open for business. And that's going to lay the foundation for getting more referrals over time. I hear so many advisors that when I say, hey, how are things going? Oh, I'm so busy. I'm so this, I'm so that. We say that, but what does that tell the client? Don't send me more people. I'm already over at capacity. So think about how you want to practice that approach. Let people know you're open for business, and finally use it. Use this. For our clients that grow 30, 40, 50%, referrals is their number one way to get new clients. And what's great about this is it's free. It's free to get them. It's not a marketing program. It's not a radio show. It's not these big events. All those work. This is the easiest thing that you can do to start driving client growth in your practice. So how can you do this? What's the best way to talk about referrals? If you're like me, you learned, well, 15 years ago, the standard approach. Bernard, was this valuable? What did you find valuable? Who else would find this valuable? The problem with that is it's vague. Who else is too big? You know, eventually I refined it to say something like, Bernard, if I gave you 5 tickets to the Super Bowl, the 4 people you'd take with, those are the people I want to meet. And that got a little bit further. I got a little bit more success. Eventually, though, there is a method to how you want to approach clients, and it ties into just human psychology. And it's an approach we put together that we call the IPA. Now, if I were in practice working with clients, I would use this conversation every meeting I meet with a client. And the IPA goes improve, praise, ask. If you leverage this, not only are you going to dive into the law of reciprocity, which I'll talk about in a second, you're going to tell clients the exact type of referral that you work best with, and you're going to be able to open up this avenue to get more referrals. I'm going to share with you one other way. If I know some people, as they go into and they think about referrals, they don't want to be pushy. They don't want to put clients on the spot. So I'm going to give you a way you can tweak this if going for a hard ask causes you any sort of anxiety. I'll give you a workaround that's going to do the same thing, but in an easier way. So the first step is improve. Now, what we want to do here is we want to trigger and we want to leverage the law of reciprocity. What that means is if you've ever walked into a department store where you've been in front of someone and you open the door for them, what do they do immediately after? They turn around and they say something like, oh, I'll get you this time. And they open the door back for you. If you've ever watched that TV show, The Office, there's a whole episode of how two of the characters are trying to one-up each other by doing nice things. That's the law of reciprocity. When you do something for someone, they want to do something back to you. It's just a law of human nature that when someone is nice to us, we want to return that. So this is where it starts. Bernard, you and I have been working together now for 3 years. And one of the things that I want to make sure is that I'm providing the best client experience possible. Now, there's some things that I can't control, right? I can't control the market. I can't control inflation. Underwriting is always a process, but there are some things that I can control. For example, how often do I reach out to you? What does it feel like to be a client of mine? What kind of information do you want that you're not getting yet? So of the things that I can control, what can I do to improve your experience? You can change that as any way that you want, but the key is I'm committed to providing a great client experience. What can I do better? Now, if you ask that and you present it, you're going to get one of 3 answers. You're either going to get the most common answer, which is nothing. This has been great. Awesome. That's a referable moment. You want that. The second answer you'll get is you might actually get something that says, well, if you could make the markets go up, that'd be great. Okay. Just told you I can't control that, but all right. And then the third one that you'll get is you might actually get a really good suggestion. An advisor that I work with, he asked this to a client and they gave him the recommendation of an event that their realtor does. So this advisor decided to copy and put that event on and started getting more prospects. So you might actually get some good ideas. But the key here is, what can I do for you? How can I make things better for you? Is how you start this conversation. And no matter what they say at the end, you want to set the stage that you are going to do this conversation every time we meet. So on that last bullet, Bernard, I'm absolutely committed to providing the best experience. So every time we meet, I want to bring this up. And if there's ever anything you think of, please don't hesitate to let me know. That's the start. I improve. The next part is praise. That's the P of the IPA. Now, what you want to do here is you want to tell the client who you help best. Because one of the things that you want to potentially avoid is, if you're going after high net worth clients, you don't want a referral that somebody says, oh, well, my nephew just graduated college and he might need a term policy. I'll help him, but great, that's not what I was looking for. So you want to be able to tell the client exactly who it is you work with. And you do that by praising them. And you can praise them in a lot of different ways. Where do they work? Where do they live? How much money do they have? You don't have to be shy about this. If your client's a millionaire and you want to work with more millionaires, they already know they're a millionaire. And you can say that you like working with them because they're a millionaire. So for example, I might say, hey, Bernard, I really love working with you. A few things that I love about you and enjoy about working with you is you work for Insurance Advisors Direct. I love that company. I love the employees that work there. You know, you live in Michigan. Love that state. I really, really love working with millionaires because you have goals. You have the ability to hit those goals and plan ahead for those. It might be, Bernard, I love working with you because you enjoy whiskey and I love talking to you about whiskey. It could be, hey, you love fishing, you enjoy movies. Whatever it is that they have that you want to replicate in your next client, praise them for that. Because that's going to tell them, who do you work with best? What makes them stand out? That's going to help them understand, who do they refer to you. If I told Bernard that I love working with him because he's an employee at Insurance Advisors Direct, that's going to help him narrow down, who is he thinking about when I ask him, who else should I be working with? So think of how you can praise. What can I improve? Here's why I love working with you. And then you go into your ask. You can use your personality to make this casual. the less stress and the more fun, the easier it'll be for clients to refer. For example, we have an agent that I work with that their wife recently had a child. So the way that they transition into this is, Bernard, I love working with you because you work at IAD. You're a millionaire. I love talking to you about whiskey. So, as you know, diapers aren't cheap. So who else is just like you that you care about that I could be working with? Right? You can tie that in there. I've heard advisors and agents use golf. Bernard, who else is just like you that I could probably beat at golf that I should be working with? Tie in some of your personality to make this more of a conversation instead of a tense ask. One of the things that you could do to shift this is turn it into an offer. So if this ask creates tension, if it creates stress, if it creates anxiety for you, flip it. Bernard, I love working with you because you're an employee at IAD. I love the fact that you're a millionaire. I love talking to you about fishing. I just want you to know if there's ever anyone else that you care about who's just like you, I'd be happy to make time on my calendar to meet with them. It's a different way. It's an offer. Whatever you use, just start putting it into practice. That's the way that you're going to let people know you're open for business and you're going to trigger that law of reciprocity. Will you get names right away? Maybe. Is it more unlikely? Yeah. I would say about 30% of the time, somebody gets a name right away when they start using this. But what I've also found is more than 50% of the time, they start getting name in the next couple of weeks because they're letting people know they're open for business. They're telling clients who are the right people to refer, and they're just getting these conversations out there. So if you haven't been doing this, the IPA or IPO approach can be a great first step into letting clients know that you are open for business. If you need to put a reminder at your desk, if you need to put a reminder, on the wall behind you, a great way that I've seen a lot of folks do it is they just put a pint glass down. IPA, the kind of beer. It helps to remind them. So that's the start, okay? Now, once you get that down, how do you avoid getting a name and then not having any follow-up or not being able to get that client or that prospect set into your office? Here's how this next part goes. You are the expert in how people should refer to you. And so when a client gives you a name, you need to take control and give them clear next steps about how you can be introduced to that person. But what you want to make sure is your next steps are always in the client and prospect's best interest. Here's what this looks like. If Bernard gave me Jason's name, let's say, what I would say is I'd first thank Bernard. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for allowing me to talk to your friends. You want to first make sure that you thank them for their trust and confidence in you. So Bernard, thank you for sharing Jason's name. Here's what I know. Right now, there are so many robocalls, spam calls going on. I don't want to reach out to Jason without having you introduce why it is we're talking. I don't want him to think, what is Bernard signing me up for? Because that's not going to be a good experience. So from what we've talked about, what do you think Jason would be interested in? Why does he come to mind? First, you get that. Now you have something to approach and talk about, so it doesn't feel like a cold call. And the next step is coach the client as to how they should introduce you to someone. So I see the most success in these ways. Bernard, I don't want to reach out to Jason before you have a chance to introduce us. So what I've seen work best is either you can send an email and CC me on it, so he knows why you gave my name and that he knows I'm reaching out. Or even easier, if you do a text with me included, I can get introduced to him that way. Worst kind of way to do it is try to do a joint phone call. Of those three, what do you think would be best for Jason? So now you've given the client three options: email where you're CC'd, text where you're on a now little group chat, and the phone call doesn't work as well as it used to, but it's an option. Now, once Bernard makes his choice, let's say Bernard says to me, Brandon, I can send a text message to them to introduce you, and I'll include you on it. Great. That's a great way to do it. The next step that you want to do is, once you've gotten the reason why and you've figured out how they're going to introduce you, get a deadline in place. So that's great, Bernard. I'll look forward to the text. I know once you walk out the door, life happens, right? So one of the things that I want to make sure is I don't reach out to Jason before you do. For whatever reason, I don't see it. You know, when is a fair time that you could get that text message sent? Or when do you think you'd be able to send that email? Most likely the client is going to set a deadline that's sooner than you would have. So they'll say, oh yeah, I can send it right now. Or, oh yeah, I'll send it when I get home tonight. Great. So now you've got how to be introduced. You've got why they're going to be introduced. And now you've got the client telling you when they can introduce you. The final step in getting that introduction is asking them, again, Bernard, if I don't see it for whatever reason, I know you said you were going to get it sent out by Friday. Could I shoot you a note on Monday just to make sure if I don't see it come through? Now, the client is going to not only have a reason, have a way, have a deadline, but now they've told you that, yeah, let me know. So they've allowed you the permission to follow up as well. So you don't have to feel like you're bugging or you're nagging. You're simply getting that permission to follow up. If I don't see it, I'm going to shoot you a note. Great. That's how you can start the introduction. The last thing that you want to do is you want to be able to also tell them how you're going to approach the client. So the last part, once I've got Bernard decided why he's going to introduce me, how he's going to introduce me, when he's going to introduce me, as well as when I can follow up, I'm going to tell him what it's like when I'm going to reach out to Jason. Because one of the reasons that an initial referral doesn't close or turn into multiple referrals is clients don't know what it's going to be like when you reach out to their friend or their family. So what you want to do is you want to clear the air there. So I would say, Bernard, I want you to know how I'm going to reach out to Jason and what that's going to look like. So after I see that initial text message come through, I'm going to shoot Jason a text message as well, or I'm going to give Jason a call. If I get him, I'm going to see if he's interested in either going to coffee, going to lunch, coming into the office to see if there's a way that we could work together. If there's not, no harm, no foul. And if there is, he'll get the same experience that you did. If for whatever reason I can't get him on the line, you know, I'll try him 2 more times. And then after that, I'll leave my name and my number and he'll know to get back to me. I'm not going to sit here and call him every week for the next 6 months. Does that sound fair? So let them know what is the experience that their referral is going to have so that they can feel more confident in giving a name. Again, we know the industry. We know how this works. Sometimes if you give someone a name, they're on a list for the next 1.5 years and they're getting calls all the time. You want to let them know, this is how I'm going to reach out. This is what that timeline looks like, and here's when it ends. And if you add them to a marketing newsletter, let them know, hey, if I don't get them, I'm going to send him, you know, a quarterly newsletter just in case something comes up that they need me. Let them know what that's going to look like. That's going to make it easier for them to refer more people to you down the line. So now, to recap where we've been, you've asked and you've had the referral conversation. You've gotten a name and you've set how to introduce you and why. Then the next step is, how do you close the prospect? Now, this is the part where it's more art than science, right? This is, do you have a relationship? Do you guys get along in a way that you could have a working relationship? What I'm going to give you now is a real quick tip of one way that I have seen more prospects convert to clients and clients send more referrals to their agents and advisors. One of the problems that I've seen, and this was something that a light bulb went off. I was visiting a practice down in Louisiana, and I was in the lobby or the waiting area of this practice. And one of the agents had a client that they were walking out through the lobby. we were chit-chatting lightheartedly, and the agent said to the client, you know, Nancy, you used to send a lot of referrals our way. You know, what happened? Are we not doing as well anymore? Now, the agent was kind of joking, but the client said, well, you know, I just didn't need any more mugs. The agent was sending the exact same thank you gift for every referral that this client sent. And eventually it became a deterrent. The client said, I have so many, I don't need any more. Now, that seems kind of an interesting thing to think about, but it does happen. If you've got the same way that you thank a client for a referral, you might want to switch that up. And here's a great way to do it that engages the prospect as well. Take a look at this option. This is something I put together that I believe and I have seen work better than anything else that I've seen out there. Create a referral gift menu. Now, these are all things on here, except for the bottom two. They're Amazon Prime. They're 25 to 30 bucks. They're at your office 2 days from when you order it. And then I like to add in 2 local unique gifts. So if this was my menu, I've got a bottle of rum that a friend of mine owns a distillery. That's their signature product. And I've got a bottle of wine that is from a distillery that's about 10 minutes away down the road here, or from a winery. What I would do is when I sat down, if Bernard sent me Jason as a referral, what I would do is I would sit down with Jason and I would have a thank you card handwritten out to Bernard that just says something very simple. Bernard, thank you for your confidence and thank you for trusting me to meet Jason. Something very simple like that. And what I would do is I would say, Jason, one of the things that I do with my clients is when they send a referral to me, I like to thank them. Now, you know Bernard even better than I do. So I wanted to see out of these gifts that I have, what do you think Bernard would like? I'd love to just send him a thank you card and a gift for introducing us. I do that with the prospect immediately. Whether or not they become a client, I would do this because what you're doing with the prospect choosing the gift, you are now working with that prospect. It makes saying yes and continuing working with you even easier. You're now doing something together with the thank you card. If Jason chose that Bernard should get this bottle of rum and I get a thank you card with my name and Jason's, if Bernard sends Jason a text that says, hey, thanks, that was really cool. Now the prospect engages with me even deeper because I'm helping them increase and provide a great experience for their friend. The other nice thing about this is if Jason does become a client of mine, Jason knows I give free stuff for referrals. If he saw something on there that he liked, he knows, oh, if I send someone to Brandon, I can get that bottle of wine. You don't even have to say it. Before they become a client, they know you're open for business and they know what options exist for giving gifts. A little bonus tip, because I know we're wrapping up on time here. If you have clients that refer people to you and they are back in the office, always send the gift to their office, not their house. What happens is if it goes into the office and somebody opens up a bottle of wine, movie night popcorn, the spice set, when that happens, other people in the office are going to ask, well, what's that for? Oh, my advisor gave it to me. Now you're getting some passive marketing. So just a tip there, if you're going to do these, always send them to the client's office when possible. It's going to get you just some more passive marketing. So here's your action steps, because I was rushing through these. Number one, define your target client. Who do you help best? Who do you want to replicate? And take a look at who do you already have in your practice that fits that. Those are going to be the people you want to approach first to have this conversation. Those are your connectors. Practice the IPA, IPO. How do you want to praise them? How do you want to get that conversation going? You don't have to do it immediately. You can practice a few times, test it out, friends, family, have that conversation. And then once you feel confident, start using it. This is the number one thing that you can do that's free, that gets you more organic growth and new clients. And then finally, set the right follow-up steps so you don't get names with no action behind it. You want to be able to turn those prospects into clients And this is a great way to do it. As Bernard said, hey, take the first step. Doing something isn't nothing. You either end up with the pain of having the conversation or the pain of regret. And the pain of regret hurts because it happens 3 days from now. Have these conversations with your clients. What can I improve? Here's why I love working with you. Who else is just like you that you care about that I could be working with? And finally, if you want to talk about any of this, as Bernard said, reach out to me. There's my cell phone. That's my email address. Happy to set up time to talk about this or what we cover tomorrow, which is having those wow conversations. So let me know how I can help. I know you guys have a heck of a lineup coming up for the rest of the day. I've seen it. I know you've got some great experts on the line. I see Alan Roman here, who I love working with as well. So it's cool to see a friendly face. But leverage this time. You're investing it. Get your return on investment and take some action. Bernard, that is my time.
Brandon, my friend, thank you very much. Again, folks, reach out to Brandon. And he's a superb coach. Sometimes I like, well, maybe he needs to be the Detroit Lions coach because he'll get those guys. No, but seriously, Brandon, thank you. And we'll see you tomorrow. And like I said, folks, join in tomorrow, day 2, annuities. And then Brandon, what are you going to be talking about tomorrow?
Tomorrow's going to be all about how do you create wow moments in your practice. So the first step of getting a referral is being referable. That's what we're going to hit on. I'm going to help you walk through segmentation, client service model, and give you a few tips of how you can generate these wow unexpected moments that lead to those referable conversations.
All right. Well, good deal. All right, Brandon, awesome. See you tomorrow, my friend.
Thank you, guys. See you later.
All right. On to our next segment. We have Alan Roman from True Choice, as well as Chris SHEIFER. He's going to get me for saying his name wrong. Again, also with True Choice, he is our life expert. And then Mr. Roman, he is their attorney. So, guys, go ahead. Take it away. Oh, you're on mute, Alan. You're muted.
That might be better. Brandon, hey, I want to thank you and thank the team. Talk about a coincidence. You guys are on Orchard Hill Place, right?
Yeah.
I was in that same building. I ran an IMO called Hamilton Marketing Group. We ended up being part of a group called Ash Brokerage, but
yeah,
we were right in your building. We were, I think we were on the 2nd floor.
Yeah, they're right upstairs from us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So great place, great location. I want to thank you. I want to thank Chris SHEIFER for getting me involved. Chris is one of our top life experts in the country, actually, not just the company. My background, I'm an attorney, I'm a tax attorney, still licensed to practice law in Michigan, but I don't practice anymore. I am basically a paid for consultant for all of you, everybody who's tuned in today. My background, I practiced up in Detroit area, but it was tax law, it was estate planning, business continuation. I actually did quite a bit of criminal tax defense. So part of my role isn't just to answer questions on taxes and estates and things like that. It's also to help keep you guys out of trouble. So when I get questions, like I especially get near the end of the year, sometimes I tell the advisor, hey, don't walk away from this, run away from this. There's something wrong going on here. But anyway, bottom line, it's my pleasure to be here. Brandon's a great guy. It was great to see Brandon. I haven't seen him in a little bit. So you're working with top talent. Before I go any further, I want to get everybody my email address and my phone number. So whether it's related to this conversation, whether it's related to your client scenarios somewhere else, let me know. My email address is aroman, AROMAN, at it's truechoicefinancial.com. True is TRU. So TRU, choicefinancial.com. Aroman at truechoicefinancial.com is my email. My cell phone, 561-402-0315. Again, 561-402-0315. So my role is basically a consultant to all of you, to True Choice, and I literally go coast to coast. I probably turn my phone off around 7:30 Eastern time, but if you have a client scenario, we can talk through a client scenario, you and I, And then what we can do is after we've come up with some solutions, we can get the client on the phone. My rules of engagement are pretty simple. If I decide that it's imperative to get a client on the phone, we can do that. I will let them know that although I'm an attorney, I won't be their attorney, but because they work with you, they get me for free, and I'll give them some guidance. Sometimes I can uncover assets that have not been disclosed, just in the context of coming up with the right solution. What I wanted to focus on today is I'm going to spend a couple of minutes talking about one of the more important questions that I get, which is the omnibus spending package that just passed 2 days before Christmas, some of the changes that were made, and I think more importantly, how that affects your clients, their income, things like that, and especially with respect to Social Security. So to highlight the Omnibus Act, number one, there were a couple of things that everyone's reading about. For those who have older clients, they did push back the age at which your clients must start taking required minimum distributions from 72 to 73. That's effective right now. As it's written, it's going to be pushed back further to age 75, but it's going to take roughly 10 years, January 1 of 2033. So the good news is for clients who wish to push back, they can push back another year. Now, if they're already receiving their RMDs, they got to keep taking them, based on the schedule that they locked in when they started. So that's kind of good news. Keep in mind that this Omnibus Act has over 4,000 pages. I didn't read all 4,000 pages. In fact, I barely read 4 pages on 3 or 4 different summaries. In fact, just 2 days ago, I found something that hasn't been discussed that I'll mention in a couple of minutes here. So pushback of RMDs, right now it's 73 if you haven't filed yet. There was also an increase in catch-up provisions. So in other words, once you're age 50 or over for a 401k, for instance, there's a maximum amount you can put into your 401k. But on top of that amount, you can go over because you're 50 to try to catch up so you can have a little better retirement. So that was increased significantly from 6,500 to 7,500, primarily because of the high cost of living, the 8.9%, 8.7% cost of living index that we got for this year. So, a big increase there. There's going to be requirements for your business clients that they begin to look at automatic enrollment in company 401ks. There might be something along the lines, and there'll be some minimum, years of service, but that'll be probably something that comes through. It's going to start taking in phases. Bottom line is look for automatic enrollment. Look for things like a minimum contribution of maybe 3% of salary for those employees that qualify in that 401k, 403b. So those are all within what we had referred to as the Secure Act 2.0. It's been called Secure Act 2.0 for a couple of years. It's not that the act is now called Secure Act 2.0, but the provisions in that body of changes has taken place as a result of the Omnibus Act. So good news for retirees overall. There's actually going to be something called an emergency savings account that will allow employees. It'll be like a Roth account. It won't be deductible, but it will grow tax-free. It looks like it'll be $2,500 a year that they can put into this through the business. The business can match, or it doesn't have to match. But what the IRS and Congress are trying to avoid is based on some type of emergency, whether it's your engine blew on your car, somebody got sick, you got to do a home improvement. There's some money that doesn't have to be tied into a 401k or IRA where you take the money out and you may have to pay a 10% penalty if you're not 59 and a half. So things like emergency savings accounts, pushing back your RMDs, increased catch-up provisions, those are all part of this. Now, for those who have clients that have significant wealth, from my standpoint, significant wealth means you either have 5 million of net worth or you might be worth 5 million in net worth in the future. If you think about it that way, there's a lot of clients that might qualify for that. Most of my conversations with advisors that have clients that have any significant net worth, let's say 3, 4, 5 million or above, depending on their age, we go into planning. We go into some aggressive planning on using, especially gifting. The gifting credits are relatively misunderstood. And when we're finished here, if you have questions on this, please call me. or email me and we'll walk through it. But in a nutshell, gifting is important to make sure that you limit the growth in your estate and take advantage of gifting, because once it's out of your estate now, if you do it right, there's no estate tax. Right now, not that we all have clients that are worth $30 million, but right now we can all gift $12.9 million. I can do 12.9 million. My wife can do 12.9 million. We can get rid of roughly $26 million for the benefit of our kids and grandkids, not pay a dime of estate tax, not pay a dime of gift tax. What most people are aware of is that there's an annual gift that takes us up to now $17,000 per recipient. The way that works is I could give everybody on the call today $17,000. My wife could match it, $34,000 per recipient. We wouldn't use a dime of our 12.9 million. We wouldn't pay a dime of gift tax. None of our kids or grandkids or friends or relatives would pay a dime on anything that we gave them. Another way of effective gifting. So from a standpoint of year end, it was 16,000 last year. The annual gift is now 17. The lifetime gift exclusion was kicked up pretty significantly to $12.9 million. I want to take a break now and move into Social Security. Social Security is big because from the context of your planning for your future clients' income, you got to make sure that when they hit retirement age or when they choose to retire, they've got sufficient income from Social Security and other sources. It's those other sources that are the highlight of what we would call income diversification in retirement. So in a nutshell, over the last 10, 15, 20 years, cost of living increases to Social Security were minimum. I mean, 1%, sometimes 2%. We ended up in many cases with 0% cost of living increases. So in 2022, January, we already had the cost of living adjustment at 5.9%, which was a huge number compared to what we had seen in the last 10, 15 years, which meant it was good news. Those who were already receiving Social Security got a 5.9, just under a 6% raise in their Social Security. That was a big number until we looked at 2023's number, which came out in November of 2022, 8.7%. This is all based on the cost of living adjustments. Huge inflationary increases in Social Security. Again, great for the people who are receiving Social Security. Unfortunately, we have an issue with respect to let's just say the financial strength within Social Security itself. So with a back-to-back 5.9 and 8.7% cost of living adjustment in Social Security, clearly the number of people receiving Social Security as baby boomers age, the number that are receiving it go up, and their benefit goes up significantly. So the outflows are significant and significantly higher than they've been, especially in the last 2 years. Social Security puts out reports that go through not only annual increases in the number of people filing for retirement benefits, also though, they show the number of people that passed away and no longer receive benefits. Generally, if you have a general rule at all over the last 20 years, it's roughly 1 million more people file for Social Security than die and stop receiving Social Security, about roughly 1 million a year. Between 2021 and 2023, with COVID involved, we lost, I don't have the actual number of deaths because depending on how they were classified, there were a lot of people that died from COVID or were listed as dying from COVID that came off the Social Security payroll. However, the net number of people that applied for Social Security, baby boomers and otherwise, rose 5 million by 5 million in just 1 year. From the end of 2020 to the end of from the beginning of 2021 to the end of 2022, 5 million more people are receiving Social Security. Now, as a result of COVID, we have a lot of folks who aren't making the money they were making before COVID. Either they filed for Social Security early or they're making a lot less money, so there's less Social Security withholding. Now, in Congress, they've talked about ways of buoying, of strengthening Social Security, increasing the wage limit at which Social Security withholding is taken, or maybe even taking the cap off completely. If you made $1 million, there have been conversations of, if you made $1 million, you're still paying Social Security withholding on all but $1 million. You never know what they're going to come up with. The key is there's a lot less money coming in. There's a lot more money going out. From your client standpoint, how do we plan ahead? How do we plan for some diversification of income? Because you're not going to be able to rely solely on Social Security if you ever could. In that context, from that standpoint, a lot of our consulting involves cash value life insurance. It is one of the only instruments that you can get money out tax-free. It's one of the only instruments that you can combine tax-free income with some significant growth. Chris will talk about whether it's one-on-one or as a group. Chris can talk about the Index Universal Life with the ability to maximize interest credits, still have tax-free cash and a tax-free death benefit. Bottom line is, from the standpoint of creating some diversification in your retirement, your client's retirement, look closely. There's very, very few, if any, other than muni bonds, and muni bonds right now, bonds are down as interest rates are up. Take a look seriously at the ability of a life insurance cash value policy to be your client's separate pot of money in retirement, a separate pot of money in retirement, effectively diversifying their retirement income. A lot of the questions I get on Social Security, we actually have our own Social Security planning software. If you get with Chris, Chris can refer you over. We can make a report. What this does is takes a client, if they're married, single, either way, we report effectively based on their full retirement age benefits. We can determine what the best strategy is based on a life expectancy that we put in there. So for example, I did one this morning. Say it's Mr. and Mrs. Jones. Mr. Jones has $3,000 of Social Security income coming at some point in the future. His full retirement age is going to be 67, but he's still got 7 years to go. He's 60. His spouse, his wife, hers is going to be $2,000 at her full retirement age, and she's 2 years younger than he is. So I put that all in a system. We printed out a Social Security report. It allowed us, or it allowed the advisor, the financial professional, to take a look at what was available, what options they might be, if they file early, what the reduction in lifetime Social Security would be, et cetera, et cetera. So get with Chris. Chris can get you over to me. You've got my number as well. But that's kind of the highlights that I wanted to really focus on right now, is creating that diversification in retirement. Now, you've got clients clearly who may or may not be affected by any of the Omnibus Act changes. Folks who are in their late 50s, early 60s are definitely looking toward retirement. They like the ability of pushing back their RMDs. They still got Social Security issues, Social Security questions. I am inundated with Social Security scenarios. So if you've got a question on a specific client scenario and you want to talk it out, again, give me a call or give me an email and we can walk through that. Bernard, that's pretty much highlighting what I had planned on talking about today. I could open it up. I can open it up for questions, but I'm not sure anybody. I've got one Q&A that came up. Let's see what I can say. Oh, never mind. It's just putting me on full screen. That might be my fault. Bottom line, I'm here as a resource for you. Chris, like I said, Chris is our top life guy in the country, and he can design a program for you. We do a lot right now. We do a lot of business owner life insurance, where we are sometimes we're using gifting, that $17,000 gifting, in order to pay the premium on a policy for kids who are going to take over a business. Buy-sell agreements are huge. You got two partners involved. You want to make sure that if one dies, the other has the cash to buy the business interest from the widow. We want to make sure we have that covered with life insurance. Sometimes we use term at the earlier ages, but cash value life insurance can not only be a solution to a buy-sell, that cash value can also actually be a form of deferred compensation in the future. So a lot of flexibility with life insurance. Any questions, Bernard? Any thoughts?
Folks, you have any questions for Alan? But like I said, this is another great resource that IAD has for you with Alan and with Chris. So folks, if you do have those questions, make sure you reach out to Alan. And these guys are phenomenal. They're great. And this actually, Oh yeah, it's a great way to transition into what Chris will be talking about. He's going to be talking about IULs and using IULs with long-term care linked benefits, and then how to maybe set up that income using or as we call it, Section 7702 plans. So again, thank you, Alan, and Chris. It's on you, my friend.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan.
My pleasure.
All right. Am I able to be heard?
Yeah.
All right, great. I am trying to figure out how to share my screen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to piggyback a little bit on what Alan talked about, actually. I'm going to discuss some of the obstacles that we have when it comes to retirement, dealing with a lot of those things Alan spoke about. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a visual, and then I'll try to step into the long-term care piece as well. Okay, Bernard?
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Okay, great. I'm sorry, everybody, trying to figure out how to get this shared. Are we able to see that?
Yes.
All right, so this is a presentation that I have put it together. Some of the numbers are a little bit off, but it's actually very telling with them being off, okay? Because of everything that happened, it shows the drastic increases that we're having in our national debt that's coming, within our country. But what this is called is the route to retirement. It's a really great idea when you're talking to your clients on how to show them the problems that they're going to have getting to and through retirement, okay? And when we think about that, and when we're talking to our clients, what we want to understand and know is, hey, what do they want to do in retirement, right? To be able to get there, you got to know where you want to be, what you want to do. And that could include picking your destination, right? All right, here we go. We're up to date here. So a lot of people might want to do different things. They might want to hang out with grandkids. They might want to travel. They might want to just stay at home and garden, right? Just showing a few ideas there. But the point is, everybody has a different visual or a different idea of what their retirement is going to be. You need to make sure that you're talking to your clients about this so you know what their goals are and what their dreams are so that you could help them further in the planning to get there. So when we do that, what happens is I call it, mapping the course, right? We want to map the course to make sure that we are able to avoid those obstacles that are going to be coming at us. And there's really two types of obstacles. There's traditional obstacles and there's the new obstacles, okay? When we think about traditional, and I'm going to go through them, these are the obstacles that, your parents had, your grandparents had, things of the such, right? These obstacles are still here for us. But the reason I differentiate them is we have new that compound the issue now as well. There's more that we got to take into account when we're trying to plan for our clients and help them get where they want to go. So when we think about these traditional obstacles, what are they, right? We have people living longer. You have market risk and you have inflation. We all know what inflation does. We've been dealing with it right now. You can see real life today how one of these obstacles can impact somebody's retirement if we don't plan correctly and take that into account, okay? So when you think about people living longer, it's actually a great thing. You love to live longer, see the next generation, do all that sort of thing, but it does stress your retirement. And it sort of goes along with one of the things that Alan was talking about when he got talking about Social Security, right? People living longer, this is stressing that source of income that people have. And we need to make sure that we're accounting for this stuff. But look at this right here. Men, right? Men, women, couples. Let's talk about couples. If you are 65 years old as a couple today, 50 or more are going to live to the age of 94. That's another 29 years. And what's really crazy when I look at this graph is the idea that you could have 5 or more people. And I know there's spots in the country that those numbers are a lot higher. But if you look at couples, it's another 38 years that they're going to be living in retirement. That's a whole other lifetime. So folks, we need to make sure that when we're talking to people, we're not just focusing on one thing, but we're open up and making them understand what some of these issues are that are out there. And for those of you that focus a lot on Medicare and that sort of thing, don't always just think about your current client that you're sitting with. Use this information to explain to them because it's prudent, but talk to them about how this could apply and help their kids and their grandkids with early planning, right? So when we talk about market risk, what is that all about, right? You know, this is not to say that the market's bad, because it's not. We have to have money there, but we have to understand there comes a point in life where that market risk is not worth taking, right? You need to properly plan for that. I'm not going to go through each one of these little spots right here or bars, but what you can see is basically all the way back to the 70s. Every decade, we had a recession or two that happened. We had a drop of 17% or more multiple times from the 70s to date. Okay? When you layer that in there and you start working with your clients, again, the idea is not that the market is bad, but the idea is when it hits you with a down market, right? And I often tell people a year or two before retirement, the year of retirement, a year or two after. These are key points in time that we need to make sure that we are working with our clients to help them avoid what this simple little hypothetical case study shows. All we're doing here is we're talking about sequence of returns, right? Year 1, 27%, year 2, 9%, year 3, 7, year 15 minus, or year 4 minus 15. Okay. What does this show? What does it mean? Well, when you look at year 2, all we did was very simply flip those numbers. Okay. You have the same washed out overall return over the 4-year period, right? But what does it mean to your client's money? Well, what it means is in those two different scenarios, depending on how it happens, there's a 13-year gap in how long somebody's money will last. Folks, this is why it's important to look at what we do as a living in a bigger spectrum. Look at it wider than what you've been doing to date, and make sure you discuss with your clients those obstacles. Make sure you let them understand that you have ways to help them avoid market risk while still getting market type returns. Okay. And this is where Bernard had talked about the IUL. Alan had said something about IULs. These products are absolutely fabulous to help in this spot. Okay. Feel free to call me when you have a client so we could talk more about it. Inflation. We've all seen this today. We all get upset about it, right? You go out, my God, the cost of eggs today versus what they were 2 weeks ago, or milk or gas or whatever it is you want to talk about, right? But if you look at this right here, often makes me jealous. 1968, you guys up there in Detroit could have got a freaking Mustang GT for $3,067. Now that's pretty cool. When you look at today, I'm talking about $45,000, but that's 2019. It's even more today. Okay. Inflation is real. Inflation will hit into your client's money. And what does that mean? That means that they might not be able to get as good of a policy when it comes to their Medicare supplement or something like that, right? We need to make sure that our clients, their kids and their grandkids understand that planning is important, and that the sooner they do it, the better off they'll be, because it'll help them on the back end of life. So those are the traditional ones that we look at. But what are we talking about today, right? What do we need to look at today to understand, to really hammer home what these obstacles are? And I often tell people when we think about retirement, right? Most people truly have 2 huge problems with retirement. Okay. If you really want to narrow it down or summarize it, it's either having enough money to retire the way they want to, and it's taxes. These really are the 2 big issues when you start doing it. And that's where, even though we might be getting a little bit minute with some of these ideas, the bottom line is very conceptual when you talk to your clients and make sure that they understand. It's about putting enough money away, and it's about avoiding taxes legally. Okay. So how can we do that? Well, we're going to show you here in a minute. But when we think about new obstacles, right? Social Security uncertainty. This is something that Alan was hitting on. He was talking about how it's great that we got cost of living increases. But when you look at the amount of people that are going on the rolls versus coming off the rolls when it comes to Social Security, this is a compounding issue that could truly cause issues for your clients in the future. So let's look at how that happens, right? Well, some of the things that have been floated, and again, you could always call and talk to myself or Alan when it comes to this stuff because he knows it a lot better than I do. But here's the deal. When you look at a 75-year solvency with Social Security, which is some point that they look at, right? And when we start thinking about 2035, you guys, I often give this presentation and talk, and my God, I remember the year 2000 like it was yesterday. Never would have thought I'd be talking about 2035 being right around the corner, 12 years from now. Okay. So don't look at that number and think, man, that's off in the future sometime. No, it's not. But here's what they're talking about. They're talking about possibly a permanent 3.65 percentage point payroll tax increase. This has been floated out there. Folks, when things are floated, they don't disappear. They might get shelled, but they'll come back at some point. What does that mean for you and your clients? Well, what that means is they need to start now. If they wait, there's going to be more money coming out of their paycheck. They have more money now, everything being equal. The bigger thing and where you can really help them is the idea when you think about Social Security benefits. Alan was talking about how they gave a cost of living increase. Let's assume that it goes the other way, something that's been talked about, a 23% reduction in benefits. Can you imagine going into retirement and all of a sudden what you thought of a year or two ago was going to be there, then something comes into play with this legislation that reduces those benefits? You got to make sure that you're planning for it, okay? Most likely it's probably going to be some sort of combination of both. All right. So the other thing that we got, I personally started in this business in 1998. I remember having clients and people I would talk to that had pensions, and some people have them today. You got to understand the country as a whole, there used to be 50% of employers that had pension plans. Today, it's less than 5. People are not having pensions. It's too expensive. It's hard. Quite frankly, they're so awesome, they're getting rid of them because of the cost, right? Now, I also want you to understand something, and you could just go do a simple Google search or whatever. When somebody tells you they have a pension, I'm not saying be doom and gloom or anything like that, but not every pension plan is created equal. Is it funded, right? You could do a Google search and see where there's lots of places that they have problems with those pensions. Will it be there for your client in the term that they think it's going to be or in the format that they think it's going to be, right? So let's get to some real nuts and bolts and some of the things that I think is one of the biggest deals, right? But here's a little saying here, right? We contend that for a nation to try to tax itself out of prosperity is like a man standing in a bucket trying to lift himself up by the handle. What's the point? The point is that taxing in and of itself is going to be hard to solve the problem, but I want to show you, do you really think there's any other way that they could do it, right? So my presentation here, we're going to talk about a national debt of just over $23 trillion as of 2020. Guys, we went through COVID and all this. Today, it's over $31 trillion that we have in a national debt, okay? Over 31 trillion. Now, I want to tell you, there's if you want to write this down, usdebtclock.org. You could go there and there's a button that you could push. With this button, it's going to show you what's going to happen in 2026, which I'm going to tell you why that's a key number here in a few minutes. We'll get there, right? But I'll show you why that's a key number in a couple of minutes. But 2026, over $40 trillion in national debt, okay? Now, here's the deal, right? If you take a look at how big $1 trillion is, just forget the 31 trillion. Let's just knock that down to 1 trillion, okay? And if you try to figure out how much that weighs, okay, if we were just to look at how much it would take to get there and what it would weigh, right? A dollar bill weighs about a gram. Now think about this. If we do all the conversions and everything, if we were to have $1 trillion in dollar bills, it'd be 2.2 billion pounds. Why does that matter to you? Well, it really doesn't. I'm just trying to make the point of what $1 trillion is, let alone what 30 trillion or 40 trillion is and what the impact is that could have on you and your client's retirement, right? Think about that. 2.2 billion pounds. Another thing is that's more than the weight of 630,000 mid-sized cars, right? 630,000 mid-sized cars, $1 trillion $1 bills weighs more than those, right? Now, here's the even crazier thing. If you think about it, with that $1 trillion, you could buy 630,000 mid-sized cars at an average price of $20,000 a car. You could buy each one of those cars 385 times. That's $1 trillion, folks. We're over $30 trillion in debt. How do you think this could impact your client's retirement? So when you think about it, right, there's really two ways to offset this. It's to spend less or tax more. The question to you, every one of you guys on this call, the question to each and every one of your clients is this: what do you believe is more realistic? I like to ask the question differently. Do you believe it's possible taxes can go up in the future? If you believe it's possible, right? If your client tells you it's possible, there's no way that they could wiggle out of talking to you about tax diversification and ways that you could help them avoid some of that taxation. Ask them all that question. Do you believe it's possible? So in 2008, we had a tax law that went into play that actually lowered the rates for some individuals until 2025. Okay. In 2026, there is a sunset provision that everybody's assuming is going to hit us. If that happens, rates are going to go back to what they were before, and it is what it is. $40 trillion in national debt, here we come. So if you're somebody who thinks, man, we're getting taxed through the nose as it is, we are getting taxed a lot. How could they tax us anymore? Right? Well, this chart's going to show you that there was a period of time from around 1933. Actually, let's go to 1938. There was a period of time, 1938 until 1983, in this realm that the top marginal federal income tax rate was 70% or higher. What does that mean, folks? That means that yes, they can tax us higher because they have. Now, as we show on this graph, we show that taxes have gone down, right? We've lowered them consistently for many, many years. And I'm not going to say there's anything wrong with doing that. But the crazy thing that we do at the same time is we've increased spending. And lo and behold, we sit where we sit. It is what it is, but we have the obligation as planners and advisors and insurance agents to sit down with our clients, make them aware of this, and make them understand that we would not be doing a fiduciary job for them if we didn't discuss with them ways to have money that's tax-free in the future. Okay? Here's the deal. David Walker, right? He was the Comptroller General for the United States from 1998 to 2000, right? Basically, he was America's CPA. He wrote the checks, and he said the fastest growing expense in the federal government is interest. Within 10 years, we could be paying more for interest than on national defense. Isn't that something, right? So as we go through everything and we talk to our clients, we explain the obstacles that they have to deal with. What we need to do is show them what they need to do, right? We need to show them the type of money that's out there. So how do we do that, right? It's pretty simple. You could use a thing called a tax triangle. This is one of the things. After you've done your job and done a financial fact finder with your client, you have an understanding of everything, you can sit down and discuss with them the idea of where their money is and show them what it is. You could do something like this. You guys give me a call. I'd love to show you something that I do called a T-chart. It's a very simple, easy 5-minute conversation that you can have with your clients. But when we look at money, we essentially have 3 types of money, right? And your job, one of the phrases that one of my coworkers used to say that really, really resonated with me was called helping you get above the line, okay? And that line is right here on this proverbial tax triangle, but you got taxable money, right? You have tax deferred money. And then we want to help our clients get above the line to get the tax-free money. Like Alan said before me, he talked about the fact that there's very few accounts to help you get above the line. He said muni bonds. Not a great spot right now unless you're extremely wealthy, right? Risk versus reward on those is out of whack if you ask me. Plus interest rates are up, bonds down a bit, right? That's something to think about. You have your Roth IRA. We could discuss that. Nothing wrong with that account, but there are some limitations. And one of the things that my presentation went through was the idea of market risk and how we can eliminate that, how we could help our clients still get good returns while taking less risk. That's the whole idea, right? Get the best return you can for the least amount of risk. And when you compare that to a Roth IRA, 99%, I think, is the number of all funds in Roth IRAs are generally invested in mutual funds or ETFs. Again, nothing wrong with that. It's just, the spot that you're going to be is you're going to help them get like returns with taking away some of that market risk. Okay. But when you look at taxable money, right? Stocks, mutual funds, CDs, your current income, those are things that are taxable. What is some of the tax deferred money? And let's go back in time. Tax deferral was the creme de la creme. It was the idea of how you avoid the tax man. That was the most efficient way to do it, right? With the idea being, hey, you're going to make more money while you're working, be paying more in taxes. So let's defer that till we retire, and then we'll be paying less in taxes. So now we could take the money. Again, still a good idea in theory, right? It's still a lot of the accounts, this is the way they are, and there's nothing wrong with them, but it's just, it is a new world today. We're talking about the possibility of taxes going up. Why would we not want to take advantage of historically low tax period that we're in today? Why would we not want to take advantage of that and offload some of our taxes now to get above the line so that we could have some money that's tax-free? Right. So when you look at those tax deferred contracts or accounts, what are they? They're IRAs, they're 401ks, annuities, 403bs. If you work with people that might have 457 plans, these are things that are all tax deferred, right? So when we help our folks, what we want to talk about, right, is the ideas of getting above the line. And I spoke about two of them. The third here, life insurance, 7702 planning. Cash value life insurance is an absolutely fabulous way to help your clients do that, right? You might have some clients that make too much money, so they can't put it in a Roth IRA. Boom, life insurance. You might have people that don't want to take risk. Well, the Roth IRA, generally, when you open that account, like I said, mutual funds and ETFs, I suppose you could have an annuity that's labeled a Roth IRA, but hey, life insurance, okay? So what happens when you have a plan that does this, when you have an IUL, right? Well, it's going to have the ability to give you tax-free death benefit. This is huge. How do you fund this? Let's talk about that for a minute, just really, really quick. Alan was speaking before about people giving gifts away. I'm going to let you know this is one of the real big spots that we have been having inflows of money is from those gifts. And people are taking that, putting it in life insurance. And what they're doing is they're not only helping their kids, but they're helping their grandkids and the great-grandkids. The amount of money that's going in these things and what it can do for generational wealth is really incredible. But one of the other things that I want you to know about an IUL, it does have a self-completing feature to it, right? Whether that means that you pass away early or whether that means that you get hurt at work or you get disabled and can't work. If you have a waiver or premium on there, that plan is still going to have money that goes into it as if you're depositing it in there, even though you're not, right? We have tax deferred growth with accumulation. We have income tax-free policy loans, which is where we're able to pull out income for the client. That's going to be tax-free. Living benefits, right? Protection from creditors. Hey, this is a great one. I actually just asked Alan a question about this last night about the state of Florida. And Florida does have protection from creditors with life insurance. And no market risk, right? The type of account we're going to work with is going to give you the upside without the downside. All right, guys. So to be really quick here, the annual reset is the big, most powerful part of what this plan is. And what that means is when the market goes up, we're going to lock in your gains. The market goes down, you don't lose anything. Okay, you get a zero. But where the reset happens and where the magic is great is the fact that now you start earning from that low point of the year before. Okay, you don't need to make up losses. Your gains were locked in. You just start earning again. Okay. So when you think about that, guys and ladies, everybody on here, what you really want to talk to your clients about is, do they really want to rely on the government to get them to and through retirement, right? Do they really want it to all be based around Social Security? Do they really want to worry about everything being tax deferred? What's the government going to do with taxes, right? Do they prefer to pay taxes on the seed or the harvest? Give me a call, give Bernard a call. We could explain that concept to you, right? And above all else, really, you're not going to be able to time the market. Your client can't do that either. So please, 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 please make sure that you talk about these obstacles with them, okay? And when you're doing those plans and getting some understanding of that, any questions you have, give myself, give Alan a call. We'll give Bernard a call and we'll definitely help you out. All right. So that is that. Bernard, how are we doing on time here?
Actually doing pretty good. If you want to go into the long-term care segment. We do have a question though, Chris.
Okay, go ahead and ask.
Yep, it is my biggest concerns with IUL as a retirement asset are the loan fee with any loan amount and the continuing increasing cost of insurance. Would you please share your thoughts on this?
Oh, sure. I don't want to say, I don't want to, hold on, how do I say this? I don't want to sound negative, but the statement is a little bit of a statement versus a question, right? And it's actually not 100% correct. Okay, so please forgive me if I sound a little bit facetious or whatever with saying that. But the bottom line with these accounts, if designed correctly, we are able to work through those concerns that the person that asked that question have. Okay. I'd prefer to go into that in further detail with like an explanation of how it works, but does that help to answer that? I just, there's here, let me say it this way. How we get around that is we lower the face amount at the time that we're going to be taking out money. Okay, we're going to eliminate internal costs as much as we can. Then there's the fact that the money that you pull out actually still earns interest on that money. Okay, we look to get positive arbitrage on what we're doing. Some of the companies that I work with, that Bernard works with, they have locked in loan rates, so we don't have to worry about. That's one scenario that's taken out of the overall deal with that. Okay, we know what the loan rate's going to be, and we have indexes designed specifically to increase our probability of actually having a positive arbitrage. Okay. On top of this, most of the illustrations and different things you see, they always show the maximum income coming out. There's nothing anywhere that says that's what you have to do, right? If the thing shows $60,000 of income coming out and your client only needs $30,000, go ahead and take $30,000. That's going to do nothing but keep more money in the policy and keep it healthy. But the truth is that's sort of a little bit loaded, and we're able to work through that, okay? And I would love to sit down with who asked the question, I don't see it, and kind of show them an actual real life example to help out with that, okay?
Hey, Chris, it's Alan. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, isn't it true also that quite a few of the carriers, with respect to the newer policies, have actually participating loans, which effectively means that even though you've borrowed money, that money still participates in the performance of the life insurance policy. Effectively, it's as close as you'll get to a wash loan.
Yeah, exactly. You hit it on the noggin. That is there. And to two other things I didn't say. Some of the companies also allow you to change your loan if you want to where you can have a wash loan, so you don't have to worry about loan costs, okay, but you don't participate anymore. And then two, all the companies have a loan protection provision so that they will not loan more money out than what needs to stay in the policy. They won't allow it to lapse due to loan, okay, so you don't have to worry about that either. So does that help out?
Yeah, well, thank you, Chris.
All right. So I'm going to be real quick here, guys. Another thing that I do, another part that's very important that I think flows into a lot of what you guys do is long-term care planning. Okay. I don't want you to think about this as traditional long-term care as much as I want you to think about what I'm about to do is for the sake of time, I'm going to be real fast and just hit on, you know, what are we going to talk about? Why is it important, right? You know, so what's considered long-term care and why is this such an important part to put into the plan when it comes to your client's retirement? All right. You know, when's it needed? What are the questions that you need to be asking yourself, your spouse, your family about how you want that plan to happen? Okay. So here's the bottom line. When we look at long-term care and how this can affect you and your family, there's a couple different ways that people get this care. There's informal methods and formal methods, right? Family, friends, community. Formal methods, nursing homes, in-home care, adult daycare, assisted living facilities, right? I want to let you know a statistic that I heard the other day. 80% of all care, 80% of all care in the first 2 years is completed at home, is done at home. The reason for that is families are trying to save money. The reason for that is people do not want to go into facilities. The reason for that is there's the gradual increase of care that's needed, right? Here's the kicker. This is why it's so important to know this stuff is that 80% that's done at home, that the majority of the time, the care is given by the oldest daughter or daughter-in-law. Now, don't think that that's the end all of everything, but for those of us here that fit into that mold, you need to understand why this is important to be talking to your clients, right? Imagine if you're 50 years old, you have your own family and you're still working. And now you have to start taking care of mom or dad at home. You got to leave work early. You're making less money because you're leaving work early, right? Your boss gets upset. You take a leave of absence, whatever it might be. Now you're not making any money. You're not putting any money in your own 401k, right? These are things that are important. This is why this planning is important for your clients and for their kids and their grandkids to know how this affects all of them, right? And the beautiful part about this is today there are plans that we use within the IUL platform or the life insurance platform that those family members that are taking care of people, they actually have the ability to get paid. I'm not saying they want to get paid, but I'm saying they have the ability to, right? It gives a lot of comfort to everybody. All right, so when you think about this, right, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services states that somebody turning 65 today, basically 2 out of 3 of you on this call, if you're 65, you have a 70% chance of needing some type of long-term care services, okay? That's a thing, and here's the deal. I can't speak for you, but I know myself and probably the majority of us, we want to live past the age of 65, right? So if you do that, okay, if you live past 65, what do the numbers show? The average person is going to be on claim for 4.3 years if the original claim lasts longer than the first year. 4.3 years. Now start thinking about that, folks. What does it cost to go into a nursing home, to have somebody come to the house? What is the cost of that in your area with the people you're working with? And even more so, we hear about this all the time, right? Dementia, Alzheimer's, all that sort of stuff. Here's the deal. People need care for that, probably more so than other folks, right? It gets difficult. But these folks generally have a life expectancy of 4 to 8 years, with some living as long as 20 years with Alzheimer's and dementia. It's very, very important that this type of planning gets put on the table when you're talking to your clients, right? How's it going to affect my family and my retirement strategy, right? Where do I plan on receiving care? What's it going to cost? What are my options, right? These are the things that you want your clients to talk about. Informal or formal care, I kind of hit on this stuff, right? Who's going to be providing the care? Who's going to oversee it? Okay. Do I have insurance or a portfolio asset that's going to be used? If it's an asset, what is it? Is it an asset that originally was going to be used for retirement? Is it going to be subject to currently being taxed? How's it going to affect my wife or my husband that's left behind with less money to continue to live their retirement? Some of this stuff's a little bit redundant, but you know, these are the what ifs, right? Make sure you know them and make sure you're talking about them. So some of the things that you guys know, right? Public programs, Medicare, Medicaid, right? They're really not going to cover everything. Self-funding. It's another way that people think about doing this. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's look at a couple of things. And I know I'm going quick, so please feel free to ask questions, but we got a timeline here. Self-funding, really, what does it mean? Well, it means that you're going to take money out of your own accounts to pay for that care, right? What are some of the problems? You have savings and money market. You could just run out of that money, right? Now that person left behind has nothing, or you're disinheriting your children and grandkids if that's something that's important, right? Annuities and IRAs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, right? What are the taxes on this stuff when you take it? Is the market up? Is it down? Real estate, how quick can you sell it? Or do you still have people living there paying their rent, right? These are all problems that could arise if you plan on using this format of going ahead and taking care of funding. Again, I'm not saying they're wrong and I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying most people who have these sort of assets or accounts, the reason they have them is they made smart planning decisions throughout their life. Let's make sure that they continue to do that. So when we start looking at long-term care coverage options, right? You have traditional long-term care, you have linked benefits products, and you have life insurance with riders, okay? So what goes on with these and how do they work? Well, let me go ahead and show you a little bit, right? Traditional long-term care, here's the deal. If you get deemed to have qualified for long-term care services, 2 of 6 ADLs, you have a long-term care benefit. That's that. That's it. That's the end of the story. If you don't ever use that, you lose it. If you go into a nursing home or get in-home care and you get it for 3 months and you use benefits for 3 months and you pass away, it's done, okay? Again, there's a lot of very good policies out there, but keep in mind, a lot of companies have gotten out of that business, okay? Is the policy that you have or wrote somebody, is that company still in business, or is it somebody else? What type of service are you going to get on that when you actually need it? These are things to think about when you look at traditional long-term care. So if we look at how a life insurance plan with a long-term care rider works, okay, if you need long-term care, you're going to get an LTC benefit, okay? That benefit is going to be what's equal to the death benefit that we bought, okay? Now, if you end up not ever using that benefit and you pass away, well, the life insurance is there. It's not use it or lose it. Every or most premium dollars that you paid will be paid back to your beneficiaries, okay? It's not use it or lose it. Linked benefit products. These work a little bit different. They're very truly a combination of both, where they're based on a life insurance platform, but they give you a much bigger LTC benefit. All right. So if you require long-term care, it's going to be there for you. Generally, for every dollar you put in, it's going to leverage that about $2 to $3, actually about $2.50 to $3, depending on age and sex. Okay. Very good way to do this. It leverages money. People see the value of the insurance right away on day one. If you don't use it and you pass away, there is going to be a death benefit that's paid back. Okay. And if your needs change throughout their life, there is a return of premium or some form of return of premium. I don't want you to think these are all day one or all 100%. A lot of these things have changed a little bit, but it is there. Again, it's not a use it or lose it proposition like that traditional long-term care was. Again, it's not a taxable benefit. It's not loaded with a lot of what ifs like self-funding is. So when you're talking to your clients, go through, let them understand this and talk to them about what the next steps are. Talk to them about what they need to do and how you could help them. Encourage them to put down a written strategy, right? What do them and their husband want to happen? Them, their husband, and children. Then they need to talk to you. They need to plan how they're going to fund it. And that's up to you to show them how they could do that and what the solutions. Quick story. I got an advisor that I work with that's up in Wisconsin. He's outside of the Twin Cities on the Wisconsin side of the line. And his father just passed away. And crazy to hear, but he told me he was relieved because his father, who he always looked up to and loved, he continued to love him through the process of having to take care of him for the last 3 years. But he got mad at him. And he said that there were days he hated him. Said his dad would hit him, would call him names and do all sorts of mean things, but he had to keep telling himself inside, this isn't my dad. Why do I bring that up? I bring that up because the people that have to take care of others go through a lot of stress. They go through a lot of emotions, and there's a lot of different things that come up when that happens. Make sure the one thing that doesn't happen to them is make sure they're not stuck between a rock and a hard place. And that's our job to do that. Make sure that they have options and that they understand how those options are going to work. And remember this, you might not always be able to solve the full problem, but if you could solve some of it, if you could alleviate pressure on their other assets by having one of these plans, make sure that you do that so that they have some leverage dollars that are tax efficient, that allows their other assets to be there. So please feel free, give me a call. And again, like Alan, feel free to call him as well if you got questions on taxes or how some of these things could help out. And above else, Bernard is, you got a great one there. He does a great job of working and helping everybody to grow their business. So we all work as a team and we're here to help you. Bernard, thank you.
All right, thanks, Chris. Folks, any questions for Chris on or the IULs and the long-term care link benefits? Or even if you have questions for Alan that may have just popped up in your head. All right. Well, Alan and Chris, I appreciate you both and thank you for joining in with us today. These guys are a valuable resource. And I always say, if I don't know the answer, I go to those guys. Illustrations, if you need illustrations that are more advanced illustrations, I always get with Chris, and so we can work it out. I think we have a question here. Thank you, Tracy. All right, so yeah, like I said, Chris Allen, great resource for IAD, great resource for me, great resource for you. Chris is going to be joining us tomorrow as well. Part one segment is a holistic approach to retirement plan, how to use life insurance and annuities together. And, for me, I've always believed in a holistic approach because everything works together, and not trying to sound, funny or anything. But I started out as a financial advisor, and part of I've always believed in that holistic approach. You got to have annuities and you got to have life insurance, and they have to work together. Now, we'll say I wasn't a Medicare guy back then. That was something I didn't want to do. But Medicare, life insurance, and annuities work hand in hand. So tomorrow you're going to really enjoy that presentation. I think we have one other question. Is underwriting tough to get through if medical conditions exist? And I see Chris is answering that question.
I was starting to. I'll say it live. I heard a stat the other day, over 97% of all life insurance applications that are submitted, and let's remember what I'm talking about here is life insurance, they get an offer. Doesn't always mean that it's preferred or standard. I mean, it could be rated, but the best way to answer this question is to simply ask your clients what exactly the medical conditions are. Write them down, get them to Bernard, get them to me, and I got an independent underwriter that'll look it over and help us out. And not only will he tell us are they insurable, but he'll tell us the best company to look at based on the situation that they have. So don't be scared of those medical conditions.
Any more, folks, until we move on to the next segment, which is the transition from Medicare to life and annuities. Is there a training program available to help us become proficient in these concepts? Absolutely. And now, one of the things that Chris and I do, we do have trainings with agents. So if you reach out to me like, Bernard, I need more training on this specific concept, most definitely we'll set some time up. I can do it, or Chris and I will do it together. But yes, Whenever you need training, we're always available. Yep. Mr. Mitchell, yep, go ahead, sir. If you have a question, just type it in the Q&A or the chat and we'll be able to. All right, so again, Alan, Chris, thank you, gentlemen. See you again tomorrow, Chris. And folks, we are almost done, maybe a half hour away. And gentlemen, thank you.
Thanks for having me, Bernard.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure.
All righty. And yes, this presentation will be presentable it's going to be on our YouTube page, as well as if you want the slide decks, just reach out to me and then I'll email those on over to you. All right, so here, let's go on to our next part of this, and then we share my screen here. Okay, folks, now like I was saying earlier, started out as a financial advisor, and I'm more of the life and annuity guy. And I really wasn't into Medicare till I got to Insurance Advisors Direct. And and I have to hats off to you guys, selling Medicare. For me, taking the AHIP, I thought that was one of the most, oh my God, just hard. My Series 6, my Series 63, Series 65, life insurance test, property and casualty, all that came easy to me. But the AHIP, I'm like, this stuff is kind of complicated. But it really isn't, as I started going into this. And then I did this presentation to see how Medicare, life and annuities, how can we transition that? So I put this together, and here, let's get started here. So, and I touched on this earlier, with Insurance Advisors Direct. Now we pride ourselves on our 7 pillars of success: our product offering, marketing services, lead generation, technology, sales tools, training, education, and administrative services. So part of the agenda today is why Medicare is a great door opener, the simple solution, bridging the sales process, the proper questions to stimulate the conversation, and then what's in it for you. So why Medicare? Medicare is a limitless market. You're having 10,000 people a day turning 65. Those are demographics. So great door opener, easy way to meet potential clients, and you already have a relationship with those folks. And as Brandon was talking about earlier, great way, least expensive way for your referral base. Recent retirees are folks preparing for retirement. Time of life financial decisions, making gold mines. So folks are in that frame of mind of what I'm going to do. They're going to talk to someone about Medicare, other retirement issues, might as well be you. Build wealth into your practice besides renewal income. I'm going to say annuities and life insurance is a great way. Lead generation, current and existing client, great response rate, and again, very expensive life and annuity lead generation technique. The simple solution, bridging the sales process. The goal of bridging the sales process, how to bridge the sales process step by step, and the product data sheet. And this is what we'll be going through. So your goal of the simple solutions bridging process is to identify a cross-selling opportunity and schedule a follow-up appointment. One is position yourself and your organization as an expert in your field that is able to offer a variety of solutions to common problems facing retirees and pre-retirees. And this meaning you're the financial expert. Position yourself as not just a Medicare health advisor. So how? Make a position statement as part of your introduction. And I'm saying I created this last week. Mr. Prospect, my objective today is to help you make an educated choice about your Medicare options. So you may have a peace of mind that your health insurance needs are well taken care of. Now, Medicare is just one of the ways I help my clients navigate retirement. Now, after we finish discussing your Medicare needs, I will ask you some additional questions about other concerns facing your retirement. So your position statement should be personal, true, short, less than 30 seconds, and an elevator story. And I know you guys are saying, well, if I'm on a Medicare appointment, I can't talk about that. Well, here's CMS rules. Agents can sell health products such as hospital indemnity, dental, vision plans at Medicare meetings. And it's very important, as you know, you'll need to have your scope of appointment. Now, non-related products such as life, annuities, long-term care, finding expense cannot be sold at a Medicare meeting. However, it's all right for agents to mention that they work with those products. You can't go into details about those products, but these are the other services that I offer. And if the client shows an interest in discussing them, you can schedule a future appointment to go over it. But you are prohibited from discussing specific products during that scheduled Medicare appointment. So step 2, Medicare sales presentation. Educate your clients on their Medicare options. Of course, you guys are excellent at doing that. Know your competition. Adds credibility and eliminates the shop around excuse. Position in step 1 adds credibility to Medicare sale. And then your opportunity to build trust and rapport and to demonstrate your knowledge. Now, step 3 is the bridging. Uncover additional opportunities by discovering the prospect's needs and wants. Again, you ask open-ended discussion questions. They should do most of the talking, and you should do most of the listening. And they will share, and actually they will share with you if there is a concern. The floodgates will open if you're just listening and allowing the agent to, or the client to talk. And by making a bridge statement, you can say, Ms. Prospect, now that we have made sure your health insurance coverage is up to date and all is set for this year, I want to spend a few minutes, as I do with all of my clients, talking about other important areas of your retirement. Many of my clients have faced dramatic changes in their lifestyle because of unforeseen changes in the stock market and inflation, which have severely impacted their retirement plans and thus their retirement income. And remember, one of the biggest fears that people communicate with me today, and they still communicate with me today, is that outliving their retirement income and not leaving a legacy. Now, is this something that you are also concerned with? And then you might want to tell, a couple of, I call it from the hip stories. And then many people are not aware that there are investments and income products available that will guarantee their returns for income for life. Now, I just have a few simple questions that I would like to go over with you to see if this could be a benefit to your situation. All right, questions. Would you like a better rate of return that is currently being offered by banks and CDs? Would you like to protect your retirement money from losses due to negative rate environment? Would you like to guarantee that you will not outlive your income no matter how long you or your spouse live? And then would you like to create the ideal savings account? If the answer is yes to any of these questions, would it be important for me to come back and to do a more thorough analysis? So this is where you set the appointment for the next meeting. And then alternative methods. As I mentioned earlier, Medicare is just one of the many ways I help my clients navigate retirement. And in my experience, the top 4 concerns facing retirees are the fear of outliving their money, inflation, the extreme volatility of the market as we're seeing today, and leaving a legacy. And ask them, do you share any of these concerns? And then how these concerns affected your plans. And always remember, you always want to ask open-ended questions. And then you uncover the size and scope of the opportunity. You do that, and you set your appointment, you understand what products that they have or what issues that they may have. You just ask them, tell me about your retirement plans, your IRA, your 401k, pension, Social Security. Tell me about your life insurance. And like I say, always remember those open-ended questions. And then you schedule the appointment, you close it, and pretty much that is a done deal. So what's in it for you? If only 1 in 3 of your Medicare clients want a conversation regarding their savings and investment options, imagine the income opportunity. The average annuity sale is approximately $70,000. So imagine the additional marketing dollars available to you. And then let's say $70,000. Let's say one of our top guaranteed income products commission rate is 6.5%. So 6.5% of $70,000 is your commission. And just imagine you having 3 or 4 of those sales. Ultimately, that annuity sale could turn into more than what you produce during AEP or Medicare. So those are one of the ways of how you can transition from Medicare to life and annuity sales. And, we can go into further details, do more trainings. One person asked, definitely we can set some trainings up. And I do want to thank folks for joining in with us today. And actually, we have 2 giveaways. And if folks just give me a minute, we're going to give away 2 $50 gift cards. So let me get this together right quick here. I'm going to stop my video so I can get this raffle going right quick. So hold on, folks. All right, folks, thank you for your patience. And here I am back, as you can see. And with our little raffle we did, let's congratulate Maureen Ward and Jamie Fishman on today's winners. Both you guys will receive $50 gift cards from us. And as well as everybody that is on this call, you will be able to get a free consultation on website design as well as social media. So I will send each of you more information on that and how our graphics department will reach out to you to help you with that. Here we got another question here. Yeah. All right. So folks, please join in again tomorrow. It's the same offer. 2 gift cards will be given away, as well as those folks that are on the call will have receive a consultation for website design and social media. And tomorrow's topics will be on annuities. So it's actually a great lineup tomorrow, and look forward to helping more folks join in tomorrow. And again, folks, today, thank you. I really appreciate you. I'm gonna, of course, I'll be reaching out to every single one of you so we can get you going, get you contracted with some of our carriers, set up trainings if need be. And like I say, we'll be with you 100%. Oh, let's see what else we got here. All right, folks. See you tomorrow. Take care now. Bye.